Why on earth does Luella Publishing get all the hate?
If you would like to learn about fairy folklore, delve into modern fairy faith spirituality, and explore fun and fanciful fairy-themed events, please subscribe to Fairy Fortunes for new videos every Friday.
Hello, my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse, and on today's episode of Fairy Fortunes, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about pagan publishing. The reason being is that I see a lot of hatred in the magical community surrounded around Luella Publishing. I can encounter a great many people who just have nothing good to say about Luella books. And I think where that might come from is that way back in the beginnings of this company is Luella got a reputation for publishing books that weren't well researched. And the reality of pagan work is that pagan religion isn't really a recreation of older traditions, that we're finding now that there really isn't any evidence to support that. What modern pagans are doing is that they're using the stories, they're using some historical inspiration, and what they're really doing is creating brand new religions. Now, I've talked a little bit about my fairy faith spirituality on this channel, of course. That's what largely this channel is about. And I have explained many times, and I'll do it again, that what I'm doing is not documented. Like, yes, people believed in fairies in the Western world in more ancient times, but really how people practice and worship fairy faith now has nothing to do with what happened in more ancient times. It really has no correlation other than using the folklore and some of the practices as inspiration. So Luella had this reputation back in the 80s of not being well researched, and so that unfortunately has carried through, and I see that with people of a certain age in the magical community. Here's what I have found, though. Most of my favorite authors, of which I really enjoy Jason Mankey, I really love Laura Temba-Zakroft. Another one of my favorites is Michelle Belanger. They all write with Luella Publishing. They all do. I have observed that there seems to be a formula that Luella Publishing likes. And I have seen that format followed by all three of those authors. Now, I've had other people come to me and say, oh, well, Luella writes the book for you. No, that's not what they do. They have a format that works for them, that sells, because you have to appreciate that they are a publishing company and they are out to make money. And that there is nothing wrong with making money. So Luella has to publish books that are going to sell. It seems to me that they have a format that they prefer because they know that it works. So they may encourage their authors to use that format, but they are definitely not writing the books. The authors that I mentioned all have very unique styles and voices. And in fact, I was reading an article on Pathos, and I said, oh wow, this reads so much like Jason Mankey's work. And then of course I go to the byline and learned that it was in fact Jason Mankey who wrote that article. So you can see their uniqueness, you can see their style in the writing. No ghostwriter at Luella is writing these books for these authors. However, the authors may be encouraged to use the format that works. Most of the books that I had come across in the recent past have been Luella, but I recently came across Witchcraft Activism that is published through Wiser, which is one of the other main publishing companies of the pagan community. And I noticed something else, is that Wiser also uses the similar format that Luella does because it works. It's very clear. And then what I've also observed is that it's kind of amusing is that I've read books that are from lesser known publishers. Moon Books is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. The authors at Moon Books, though, are using the Luella and Weiser format. What the format seems to be is, let me introduce the concept of what I'm talking about. Now, here's a step-by-step instruction on how to use this concept in either a meditation or in a very specific spell. So what I've observed is that the authors who are using Moon Books are using the Luella and Weiser format as well, because it makes sense, it's useful. I do know a little bit about publishing. I actually have considered writing my own book. It's been suggested to me that I should write a book regarding my accidental talisman concept, and I've also considered writing a fictional book. So I actually have done quite a bit of research on publishing. Luella and Weisner seem to be a little more discerning with the type of material that they publish, whereas Moon Books and other publishers will take, the truth of the matter is that lower quality. I'm sorry, it's true. Which can be good. If you're not a well-known author, using a publisher like Moon Books would definitely get your name out there and would generate a following for you. But it seems to me that with Luella and Weisner, you really have to have your following first before you approach them. And that's actually true of the publishing world in general. I don't want to say that Moon Books are of lesser quality. I know that Morgan Damler has written with Moon Books, and I really love her work. So it just depends. But there have been some books by Moon Books that I found the editing to be quite poor. It was clearly not professionally done. I do know that Moon Books doesn't have that very rigorous and strict guidelines for what types of books they're going to accept. They're a little more lenient on that. That is not to say that their books are unvaluable. I think that they have published really enlightening pieces, but I think saying that Luella and Weisner are only publishing cookie-cutter works is incorrect. In my opinion, Weiser and Luella are publishing high-quality products that are very valuable and useful. And the authors are very skilled and professional. And I think that they're held to a little bit of a higher standard. And it's a little unfortunate to me that Luella is still held in kind of disregard. I've heard that from many people, and I just think, have you read these books? Because I read a lot, and I'm here to say that, like I said, my 3 favorite authors are all published with Luella. Another example that I want to put out there is there are pieces in self-published pagan books that I think are brilliant. That there are pieces that blow my mind. But usually when I encounter a self-published pagan book, it's just not focused. Is that you really have to like sift through a bunch of stuff to really get to the meat of the work. And Luella and Weisner really make a point to get their authors to pare it down and really focus. In self-published books, there's one in particular who I'm not going to mention unless somebody forces me to. If you make it to the end of this video, leave a comment down below saying that you want to know what author I'm referring to, and maybe I'll tell you who that is. But in this one self-published pagan book, it was like, I thought to myself, this is really brilliant, but this needs to be about 5 different books. Don't just cram it into this tome that's very difficult to wade through and is unpleasant to read. Because I do think what Wisner and Luella do very well is that, yes, this is a textbook. Yes, this is a nonfiction informational piece, but it's also art, and it needs to be entertaining. So I'm really making a plea for people to stop hating on Luella. Don't knock it until you try it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know who your favorite author is and who they have published with. And with that, have a magical day.